Oh, okay, I figured it out. All right, sorry about that. Now there's like, wait, there's a gap. Oh, there's a 3-minute gap. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about, hey, Jessica, and Know It All and so fucking crazy. That's cool. Anyway, so I was on Thursday night and I was minding my own business and I was waiting for my groceries to be delivered from Walmart to be delivered from Walmart. And I saw an email from Reddit and it was giving me a breakdown of all these different most popular ones from each sub. And I opened it because the heading said, see why you don't have to Uber. Stop being bougie. Take a damn bus to the grocery store. So, yeah, this is what we call a food stamp baller. You know, yeah, she's ghetto fabulous. She somehow managed to be both bougie and ghetto. Like she thinks her EBT card is Black Amex. It's not. Have a seat. You know, this is how you know you're a food stamp baller, though. When you've ever done your grocery shopping at 11:59 at night, or you've ever taken your baby's juicy fruit and mixed it with Ciroc and called it Wick on the beach. So yeah, apparently she's living the life on food stamps and government programs and whoever else she's scamming and conning out of money. But if you're a sucker and you want to keep giving her money, keep doing it because it's your stupidity. That was the picture that was on my Google email that I put up first. That was the first picture I put up, and that was when I had my accident. So that is 34. I had the accident at 35. Is somebody that is living the good life, living her best life on government assistance and scams. So what I want to talk about is the fact that you do not have to give her money to go to the doctor or to go to Walmart or to go to the pharmacy. I'm disabled. I actually am physically disabled. I don't have to lie about it, just like I don't have to lie about having undergo surgery to beat cancer. So I was waiting to get my groceries, and I was booking my appointment to see my primary care doctor on Friday, and then the pharmacy on Monday, and then Wednesday I have my injections. So I'm going, so even though I have a walker and I'm disabled and it requires me to use a mobility aid, I am still somehow able to go from my town, take a free shuttle, I think it's a $1 shuttle, to Dallas, and then I get a discount on my day pass. And so it cost me, for $5, I can go all over Dallas using and I have to use a mobility aid. So it is absolutely ridiculous that she's asking you to give her money for doctor's appointments when those are free. She could just call Star Transit 211. There is a shuttle. It may cost $2. If you're not on Medicaid and Medicare, it will take you from a rural town into the city to see your doctors because supposedly she lives in or around Austin. And Austin does have public transportation. It is the most expensive city. They are very progressive, so you should be going green because much like Europe, single families driving is going to be a luxury because of either the gas prices or the electricity prices in running an electric car or flex. So I'm able to take my walker and get from my town all over Dallas and home. Now, if there's a gap between the stops, between the bus stop and the train station, like 5 miles, then they recommend that you call Uber or Lyft for that 5 miles. But there's also a second shuttle that takes people back and forth to the train station or will assist you between stops. So there's really no reason to spend over $100 going to the grocery store to use your EBT card. And everybody else seems to be able to manage this, except her. I mean, She also already said that she gets her groceries from Amazon Prime, and they do take EBT as well as Walmart's. And everyone is suffering. Oh, I'm fine. I'm just wanting to talk about this because I'm actually disabled. I have broken disc in my spine. I actually had a grapefruit-sized ovarian tumor that destroyed my insides. And yet I'm able to get around without asking anybody for money. Let's also talk about the letter, because I spent a year working at that hospital. Where I'm from, when I found out she went to that hospital for the criminally insane, it takes mostly prisoners and people from jail, and that's where she hooked up with her love affair of Donnie. Like that hospital is a joke. Like we have to have we have to have I think there's a siren in case there's an escaped inmate or something coming from there. But I worked there for a year. My job was to take care of children as a volunteer for when couples came in they had a DV or family, it was like mandatory. I know a lot of people who work there, worked there for decades, family, immediate, extended family. I know a lot of people that work there. And so, yeah, I wouldn't trust anything coming from, I wouldn't go there to hook up and find your love, your prison bae. No, it looks like something out of American Horror Story, the asylum, because there's only 11 of those hospitals left. They're so badly ran and they have no money, so it's kind of cyclic that they can't meet standards and the places aren't safe. And you have to shut down unsafe buildings and facilities. And then those buildings are just abandoned on the campus. And so like they're not getting enough funding to properly run the hospital, but because they're not properly running a hospital, then they can't get the funding. So it's back and forth, but there's really no place to send these people. So that's where they are. And I just don't understand why you wouldn't drive 35 minutes to go to a reputable place. But I do know the other reason why people go there, and that is because they are trying to get their crazy check, either to get partial or total disability. So what you do is you go check yourself into a state-run program, and the taxpayers are paying for it, and you claim that you're too crazy to work, and that's how you get your crazy check, and you get it faster. So you don't have to wait 3 years in order and like hire an attorney or go to court. So because I went through that, I had over 1,000 pages of medical records. I had more than 3 times any. They were going to have to hire more paralegals to handle my case. My sister's been sick for 20 years. She's older. She's in hospice. I don't know. This might be our last Christmas, but I know people who said that they had panic attacks, anxiety, that they couldn't drive their cars, that they couldn't drive anymore. Therefore, they can't work. And they found a way to cheat the system. And it's like the number one, fraud. Like Social Security is about to be bankrupt because so many people are running these scams on it. And you send people to prison and they come out being better prisoners because it's kind of like a school for prisoners. And so I think what a lot of the time happens in the inpatient support groups, they teach those people how to scam and how to get their government money. So I'm thinking that's what happened. But it is hilarious. Like if you say you went to that hospital, that state hospital, and you were committed, yeah, I'm out. And that's the hospital where I work as a volunteer. Also, the other reason that it's incredibly offensive is because this woman lied about being a DV victim, which a lot of women can relate to actually having a boyfriend or a husband and put your hands on him, maybe you did it once or whatever. She lied about being abducted and held hostage for 2 weeks. She lied about being repeatedly attacked. I can't say the real word. She lied about the death of 8 babies. She told us that she lost 8 of her children because either the husband or the prison bae or whoever that she was losing. So she's lying about dead babies. And that's that puts her pretty much on par as being a piece of shit human being than Johnny Yates. And this is how we know, because she said she was still, I mean, they're boyfriend and girlfriend. And you know what else? She was the paid caretaker for his mother. So she was getting a government check to help his mom. And maybe she did help his mom, or maybe she was just shacking up and sleeping with her son. But she was getting a government, like an SSI check to have a caretaker. So she was already drawing one check. And now, I mean, I really don't know. Allegedly, in my opinion, whatever. Stories, rumors, parody. But yeah, when he went to, it was like a knife fight, and it was over supposedly illegal substances, or it's supposed to be over her with a married man. I don't know. Sounds like the town pump. So she's just a pass around girl, and she likes prison bays. So already I'm like, I'm getting a little bit like maybe we shouldn't trust her, and she's like sketchy and maybe not credible. And then when I Googled her name, Kelly Ann, if you Google her name and her prison bay's name, you go to Athens News, which is in East Texas, and it tells you all the story. She was taking his mother there. She was the girlfriend. The court system, the plaintiff, the defendant, the attorney, the judge, everybody, the newspaper, all said girlfriend, not victim. You are not his victim, you are his girlfriend. Now, if you want to come out with a story that said, hey, I didn't know he was like that, or yeah, I got caught up and then I had to get like safely away from him and this is what happened. No, you said that he abducted you, you were attacked, you lost a baby. That's not what happened. You were his girlfriend and you were forced to testify against him because he caught you up in a letter. You were going to visit him and he showed you a letter about how you were supposed to pin the M-word crime on an innocent person and make it up that it was a drug deal that had gone wrong and it was somebody else who did it, and that you're prison bay and try to get them out of jail. So you were going to be an accomplice after the fact. And that's probably why you had to testify. So let's talk about that letter, because he showed you the letter and then he went back to his cell with it and they found it, and then he had to be put on S-Watch. So, and yeah, so the letter said, I just want this for record. Hey, babe, I know how we can get this dismissed, referring to committing the M-word crime. If you could find someone to write this letter playing that they were a close friend of the victim, the actual victim, and they want to be honest about what happened and who really paid him, have them write a letter that he stole about $600 worth of illegal substances from someone, instead of they ever hurt him in any way, that instead of making matters worse with them and risking getting paid, he would blame it on me. And I don't believe somebody would be doing time for something they didn't do. And I would have said something sooner, but Jay told me if I said anything about it, he would cane me. Like, this sounds, I mean, I know you only have a 9th or 10th grade education, but you couldn't do any better than this guy. And then he said that the surgeon's trying to argue. I'm tired of hearing it. Like, I have to walk to get to a bus stop. I walked a mile. I'm in physical therapy. I didn't think I could walk that much. I overdid it and I was in physical pain after, but I walked half a mile and half a mile back. And if I can do it, you can do it too. As big as I am with my damaged spine. You were not a victim. It's because of women like you that we can't have the Me Too movement. It's women like you that people don't believe women. And listen, since the passive aggressive comedian made a comment, I watched 4 or 5 of her comedy shows. She made a comment about my indigenous heritage. Let's talk about that. Because my friend, not me, because I've been, Seawood told like a dozen lies about me, and it was stuff that was easily refuted. I watched about 5 or 6 of her shows after I unfollowed and unsubbed, before I gave up on her bullshit. And I asked her not to keep bringing up my name and not to talk about what happened to my mother and not to bring that shit up because I didn't want to talk about it. Just leave me out of your, and she didn't. And so she came out, she accused, I am not Days of Our Lives, I am not Wrong Pineapple. No offense to those two people, but I read their post and they use your instead of you are, Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. And everybody knows I'm a school teacher and I got 2 college degrees. So I know the difference between your and your. So when you read my post or any old post by me, I spell check and proofread. And if I make a mistake, I correct it. So I know the difference between your and your. I am not those two people. Stop bothering them or making videos about them. They're not me. You also accused a Native woman who's an Alaskan Native and lives on the reservation. You accused her and you blocked her, thinking she was me. Because the truth is, you are not Native American. You are 5 generations removed from the reservation. You think you're Cherokee, maybe for the 23andMe, but much like Elizabeth Warren, every brown-eyed girl in Oklahoma and Texas says her grandma's Cherokee. It's bullshit. It's a fantasy fairy tale. You don't have your tribal affiliation card. You're not on the Dolls record. You don't have your ID. You don't have your paperwork. I know where my family came from. I know my grandfather didn't even have a first. He had one name. And when he left the reservation, he got to pick his first as an adult. He picked his name, his first and middle name. And the name he went by became his last name and his family name, because I'm Blackfoot, Muskogee, and Chickasaw. You have to, and the reason why I know this is because in the 1980s, one of my first cousins, because my dad's like the youngest of 8 children, she wanted to adopt, instead of going to China or going to Romania, she wanted to adopt her daughter from the reservation. And because of the violence towards Native people, you cannot take an Indian child off the reservation unless you are 1/4 or 1/8 of the same tribe. You can't be a bunch of different things, or and not. I mean, there's like hundreds of very unique, different ethnic tribes, and then there's like 5 or 6 that are the main ones, which is Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, and Seminole. And for her to adopt her child, she had to prove that she was a 1/4, because white people, non-natives, cannot take a Native child because of centuries of violence and abductions. And they're still being hunted down, women and girls, the missing, murdered Indigenous women, that there's still an issue with human trafficking and targeting Indigenous women. My family has a tribal affiliation card. So I know. So whoever made that comment, that comedian about content creators lying about their Indigenous heritage, bullshit. I don't know if she's Indigenous, but she's 5 generations removed. She said her grandmother, that's like 1/4. If it was her grandmother was 100%, she would still be 1/4. And no ties directly to a reservation. She said her great-great-grandma, that's 5 generations. And then she tried to say that she practices voodoo hoodoo as an Indigenous woman. And I'm like, no, because that's Haitian. You're culturally appropriating the voodoo hoodoo religion from the Haitian African people. Then you're claiming that it's Indigenous. Indigenous people don't practice hoodoo or voodoo or Wiccanism. That's not even the same group. You just basically saw American Horror Story, The Coven, and adopted that as your new religion, and then tried to pass yourself off as some spiritual guru, and it's bullshit. So I just wanted to get those facts that, and I don't want anybody's money. Whatever I need, God will provide. So I don't need anybody to do for me. I made it this far. Nobody from the internet has ever helped me. I don't want your money. You can keep it. I'm not, and you know what? I have been avoiding talking to certain people, but when I went on the Witch Bitches channel, thinking she was cool with me, and then she brought in people one after the other to confront me and talk about things that I don't want to talk about because I didn't have my heart medication, and people had been harassing me all day. And it was causing me to become agitated in my heart rate. It was putting a lot of tension and stress on my body and causing my heart rate to go up to 133. And I didn't have my heart meds. So I would have never spoken to Nurse Ratchet until the witch bitch forced me to speak to her. I am not on anybody's side. I'm team Jesus. I'm team my dog. I'm on no one's side, but I'm really tired of people faking physical disabilities and faking cancer to scam people out of money. And that's really all I want to say, that there are resources to help disabled people. You do not have to, you know what? YouTube is free. I don't know why you're giving people money, because YouTube is free. Last time I checked, they're not charging me money to watch YouTube videos. There are reputable charities, St. Jude, SPCA, North Texas Food Pantry. There are places where you can, like, there are people who really could use your money and help, and that you can volunteer, and you don't have to give your money to this bitch to go buy some, for her in her flip-flops to go party on 6th Street. If I do come back and make any more videos, it'll probably be about something else, because I normally don't even bother with these people.